Now I'm looking at the official up in the starting tower. The red flag is up and it's down. We've got a start. Looks to be clean all the way across. No issues.
And who we have in this race again, over in lane 1, so as that referee in the tower reads from their left to right, is Wisconsin. Lane 2, Ohio State. Lane 3, Minnesota, Michigan. Lane 4, Lane 5, Indiana. Rutgers in lane 6. Lane 7, Iowa. And Michigan State in lane 8.
Michigan's pulled out to an early lead, and then it looks like Rutgers is next. But it's pretty close, as you can see. Pretty close race for second.
And these are going to be the kind of some of the fastest pure like first year combinations. So we may see a couple of first year freshmen up in some other boats, but these athletes in these lineups are going to be first year collegiate athletes, and you're correct that it is Michigan out in front. They're the #1 seed in this race, but that fight for second through fifth, I would say, is really tight here.
Wow, it's incredible. You got Minnesota up there, right? And you've got Ohio State, you've got Rutgers, you got Indiana.
I would say Rutgers outperforming their seed just a little bit. They were fourth coming to this race, so I think they think, hey, they got nothing to lose. Let's see what we can do out here. Throwing out their cards early, see if they can kind of intimidate the field here, see if they can get out early. Can they hold it? Crew next to them, Indiana, one of the highest seeds for this team, this program as well. They're fighting it, so they're probably only about a foot down from Rutgers off to their left-hand side, off to their starboard side. And as they cross that the first 500 meters, Michigan, maybe Rutgers, and then Indiana.
Yeah, and you've got some of the outer crews here. Michigan State's holding on to Iowa, and you've got Wisconsin holding on to Ohio State. And then I think, Michigan's out. They're trying to break open water. Rutgers has moved up a little bit into their boat from being down. And then you've got Indiana that's just holding strong. They're right with Rutgers. In terms of the next crews racing, you have Iowa and Minnesota. And now you have Ohio State that's moved back into the picture with those two crews. They had a big move in that part of the race just there and moved themselves up. Look at Michigan there, strong together, great acceleration, not a lot of extra body movement. They're taking a big move here and trying to create that open water. But you've got Rutgers. Look at they're like, no, we're not going to let you go. We're holding on to you. And they're starting to take a little seat here on Indiana. They've got about 3 seats on Indiana.
Yeah, so it's that fight between second and third, and then that fight for fourth place is going to be a really interesting one as we come towards the 1,000-meter mark. It does look like Michigan may have just a foot of open water at this point. Rutgers and Indiana, like Mandy was saying, having that fight. There's contact over with Iowa there with that fight, but then across the field closest to shore, we can see Minnesota and Ohio State here also kind of exchanging some seats back and forth. We see Michigan State on the far side of the field. Wisconsin will be in the lane closest to shore. So it is definitely a fight here. I love watching. It looks like maybe the Indiana crew made a little bit of a move on
Rutgers. Yeah, they sure did. That was great move right there. Great move. And Iowa has made some open water over on Michigan State, and they've moved into Minnesota a little bit. So, and they're closing the gap there on Rutgers as well. Rutgers take a counter move, and they've gotten back a seat, and Michigan has open water now. Clearly open water here as we're coming up to that 500-meter mark to go. Still plenty of room to make a difference here. Each crew, again, fighting just like the last race. We're seeing some moves and some counter moves, which is really awesome. Man, that race between Rutgers and Indiana, boy, you'd love to be in those boats. There's nothing like that when it's just stroke for stroke. That intensity within the crews. That's just a fun environment to be in. Minnesota seems to have just a couple inches over Iowa, but Iowa seems to be getting themselves back into the picture. And they've made some contact with Indiana, it seems like. It's very little, but they're making some contact from this angle.
can start to hear the cowbells come out cheering on these crews now that we can see the whole field and see where all the cards lie. So it does look like Michigan, they are crossing that last 500-meter mark. They have taken up the rate a bit. I think they want to see how far can we push this lead, which they definitely have. Then we look at our next two boats that we have crossing the line. Looks like taking a charge here.
Yeah, big charge. Indiana, huh? They just made a big move in 4 or 5 seats, and they continue to move.
Slingshot is what we call that.
Yes,
They're
and
taking
Minnesota, look at, they're coming at it. They're charging up. They are not too many. They're about 4 seats down on Rutgers.
But I would say the momentum is with them. Look at that move.
Yes, that's a great move. Michigan still holds the lead. Oh, they got their blades caught in the water a little bit. Indiana continues to move on Rutgers. Minnesota moving up on Rutgers as well. They are in a position to possibly pull in front of them as we come down into this race. Iowa and Ohio State duking it out. Iowa's probably in the lead there between those two crews. You've got Minnesota moving up. Indiana has moved up. Who's it going to be coming into this last 250? You can clearly see Michigan still in the lead. Indiana is trying to close the gap. Minnesota has taken the lead over Rutgers, and they are charging.
They're trying to
check out the Gophers.
There, look at them go.
Yes, what a great sight here at this event. Michigan's holding on to the lead. You've got Indiana making another counter move that brought themselves a little bit ahead of Minnesota. And then you've got Rutgers holding off Iowa. Right there, you've got Michigan, Indiana, Minnesota, Rutgers, and Iowa barely right over. Who is that? Ohio State and Michigan State and Wisconsin. Wow, another great race.
Yeah, you can see they got to put on the brakes.